half of his shoulders will be gone. Hey, what's up, everybody? Really excited about today's video, which will drop tomorrow. We're here sitting with another West Valley kid, Craig Morris, and he was actually on. This will go tomorrow, so he was actually on Channel 2's Fresh Living yesterday. So you can check it out online as well, where he shares some of his products. But again, this is part of our effort of growing and expanding our vision of what's out there, what opportunities are, and to share those with you, and also grow our network as well. And so we're excited to jump into it. Stay tuned.
Awesome.
You're looking fresh today, dude.
Oh, thanks, man.
We
Clean up a little bit, you know. My wife's like, you should get a haircut before you go on TV. Yeah. Ain't nobody got time for a haircut. Like, should have thought about that last week. So,
all right. So these videos, they can be 5 minutes. 30 minutes is where we're trying to around the time, the max time. But we'll go ahead and jump in. And you want me to jump off? So really quick, Craig, why don't you just tell us a little bit about, you and I have some history, but even further than that, just tell us a bit about yourself, where you come from, and all the way up until maybe what some of the things that you're doing today.
Yeah, so I grew up in West Valley. My dad, actually, when I was pretty young, he had his own business for a little bit. I was in 5th grade, and they had some internal things that went wrong, and it kind of just, it collapsed, and it kind of scared him a little bit, I think, and then from there he went to start working for the church, and it was awesome, and it was really cool to see him like in a nonprofit and thriving in that, and seeing my dad like feel valued in what he was doing. At the same time, my mom had a little like detached beauty shop. Like we had a detached garage on the back of our house, and she cut hair my entire life. Like I remember there's a lot of people that have been coming to her for 25 years that bring Christmas presents to like us when we were little and stuff, like because they saw my mom weekly to get their hair done. So I had a little bit of, the self-employment, the entrepreneurship, like from my mom's side, and my dad had done it a little bit, but frankly, like I didn't know a lot about it. I really didn't. I played a lot of sports. My goal as I was leaving on a mission was to come back and be an athletic trainer. I wanted to go be a PT and like spend time taping ankles, and had visions of grandeur being like the athletic trainer at BYU or for the Jazz or something cool, right? Where I was involved in sports and I was doing something that I thought was helpful to people. And I had a mission president who super entrepreneurial. He's built a business that does over $1 billion a year, and I remember the first time he brought it up to me, it was probably about 6 months before I came home, and he was trying to get to know me a little bit better. I had a different mission president for the first year, and then I was getting to know him, and he was like asking, what do you want to do when you get home? What are you going to study? And I told him what I just told you guys, and he said, you want to tape ankles for the rest of your life? I'm like, what? I never looked at it like that. I just thought like, I'm like, I don't know. I just want to be involved in sports, right? And I felt like I was ambitious enough that I could go through medical school, right? I thought like, hey, like, yeah, it'll suck, but I can do it. I always felt like I was capable of doing hard things, but I'd never looked at it from the way he did. And so he was like, oh, Craig, you were born to be in business. And I'm like, what does that even mean, right? That's really, and I thought about it a lot. And so over the next few months, obviously still a missionary, but I had periodic discussions with him. And when I came home, his advice was just take a couple business classes. He's like, just go learn a little bit about marketing, learn a little bit about like, accounting and finance and some of these aspects of business. And he's like, just see if you like it, And again, I thought, okay, no big deal. I've got to knock out some generals. I'll take a few classes that are business related and just see what it, where it leads me. I fell in love with marketing. I love my marketing class. I love my professor. We did a lot of case studies, and the one that's most vivid to me is we looked at like Coke versus Pepsi back in the day, like the Pepsi challenge, right? Like when you guys probably remember the commercials, they'd show up and put a blindfold on and they're like doing taste tests, right? And we looked at that, and like the irony of that was instead of one of them like growing from it, they both grew, right? And I was like, I remember sitting there just fascinated at like there was just more people talking about them, right? So even though it didn't matter, I don't even remember who liked which one more. Sure, Pepsi was probably trying to promote that, hey, we had more people in a blind taste test like ours, but at the end of the day, both businesses grew, and I thought that was fascinating. And so that was really what began the journey. I bounced around to a bunch of different colleges before I finally graduated from Utah State. had a couple really cool jobs while in school. I got married early, started having kids early, and so like I was working full time and going to school full time. And I was fortunate enough to get a little bit of the business sense working for Icon Health and Fitness up there, and I was sourcing like lift motors and LEDs and just little components for their treadmills and for their ellipticals and all that, and kind of fell in love with doing the China thing. And that's really the first glimpse I had of like the business world as far as what I wanted to do. And so again, I had a little bit of influence growing up, from my parents, like, and then my mission president, and really that was like it as far as entrepreneurship goes.
Awesome. So there's a few things that you touched on that I want to follow back up on a little bit later, but really quick. So come home from your mission, graduate from college, and then you decide to not work for anyone and go off on your own, which I don't know at what point that happens at, but I imagine there wasn't a huge return right off the bat, right? So what is that like? I mean, you're married, you have kids, I assume at this point.
Yeah.
Like, what's that conversation like? Because that's scary, and I think that's, fear is, for me anyways, fear is a big part of that, but maybe from your family even, from immediate family or extended family, what was that like?
Yeah, great question. My wife probably would have been hesitant to marry me had we talked about what life was going to be like as an entrepreneur before the fact, right? Like, really though, like it was one of those, like I had a good job in college, graduated, I'm fluent in Mandarin, and so like going into the profession of sourcing products and working with China, that was an easy segue, right? I had lots of job offers, right out of college. And I came down to Salt Lake to work for Zag, and a really cool company, publicly traded. I remember walking in the first day, like before they'd even told me what I was gonna make, I'm there to interview, and I'm like, dude, this place is so cool, publicly traded, like I'm gonna be this, that, and the, like I thought I could be there forever. I really did. The CEO was really cool. They were doing cool things in Utah, and I was still on board to be an employee. Like I really was. And so I graduated, even with all the business classes I took. I was a member of like, they call the E-Club or whatever, like up in college, and they have entrepreneurs come in and speak to you. But I was like, I think I can create internally, right? Entrepreneurs. And I thought I can go to a cool company like Zag, and I can be good at what I do and then have an opportunity to create from within, right? That's really what I thought. And I learned pretty quickly that I was an awful employee. And that was hard because I don't know, I never thought of myself as not being good at certain things. And I thought if I want to be good at something, like I can be, I just need to put work into it. But my direct report there, the VP of marketing, pulled me aside one day and he's like, hey, you come to work all the time and you look grumpy, like you look like you don't want to be here. He's like, are you okay? And it was like, whoa, he's right. Like I like, even if I wasn't outwardly saying it, I was hating the role I was in. Like I just was, and for a lot of different reasons that, but I think at that point in time, I had a job. We had just bought our first house, and I lasted about 7 months at Zag. And I told my poor wife that I was quitting my job at this cool company with benefits, with everything, right? And I was going to start my first business. And she's like, well, what are you even going to do? And I'm like, I don't even know yet. I just know that I'm like unemployable and I'm unhappy. And like, I just,
You're unemployable and unemployed.
Yeah, exactly. So there we went, that was, it was scary. Like, but I don't know, I believe from a young age that like, you do what makes you happy, right? Like, there were probably sports that I was more genetically predispositioned to play than basketball, like undersized, slow, but basketball was my first love, and that's what I did. I just played basketball regardless of whether or not I was going to go the distance. Like my heart was in basketball, right? Yeah. And so I looked at it like, my life's too short, man. Like I love being with my wife and kids, and I was commuting from Eagle Mountain into Salt Lake back when there was just one lane each way on Redwood Road and one lane each way on Lehigh, Maine. And so like it was crazy.
Before Google Maps even knew.
For real, yeah. Like they're like, Eagle what?
Like Eagle where?
Yeah, exactly. And so I mean, it was hard. I was away from them. I had to leave at 7 to get there by 8, and I'd get off at 5:30. I'm home by 7. It was awful. And so that was one of the things that played in. But I just felt like it'll work out. I felt like, okay, I've been around enough successful entrepreneurs, and people that have done it, like I think I can do it. And I didn't really know what I wanted to be in. Again, I had like a skill set, I guess, right? I still had like the Mandarin thing, and I had spent 2 years working for companies sourcing products. And so literally I went out with a buddy and we printed business cards. He and I both left Zag at the same time. And we just started going to networking events, like anywhere we could go.
To network what though at this time?
Like to pass out cards to tell people we'd help them get products made in China.
Okay, the
sourcing. Like, as a
okay.
service, we just thought, hey, like let's do this, and it literally took 9 months before we got our first client.
Another effort.
9 months, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I tell people all the time, like the way that I did it is probably not the smartest way. In fact, I know it's not, but it was the only way I knew how. Like I had a big credit card and I had a big line of credit, and this was back in 2009, in an interesting time when like no one else could get financing, right? Like the economy had crashed 2008, 2009, and so I was like, I had good credit, like, and I just happened to be just young and dumb enough to start a business right in the middle of like the worst economic crisis we've had, right? So that played in a little bit. So I think the amount of time it took to get our first order, I didn't get paid from that business for 2 years. I worked on that for 2 years, dude, maxing. Again, it's not what I recommended. Max out any credit card I could get. I'm going to my wife and I'm saying, hey, will you get a Visa for us? Will you get like an Amex? Like anything she could get too. And we were just living on credit, like trying to build this business, right? And I guess backing up, when I was at Zag, I bought an inflatables business, like bounce houses. And so I had a trailer and like 6 bouncy castles and 2 slides, and I hired my little brother, my wife's little brother, and we would, from flipping Provo to Ogden, whoever rented, like we would just all Saturday long drive around the valley setting up these bounce houses, right? So I had a little bit of income coming from that. And then after 2 years of running that, right when I was like basically destitute, like I'm really at this point of like I've maxed out every credit card that I can possibly get.
Were you ever profitable with the bounce house business?
The bounce house business made money. It made money, and in hindsight, like I should have just done that, and I probably would have made more money those 2 years than otherwise, right? But it was putting enough that we could make minimum payments against credit cards and lines of credit, like, and that's like, it's dumb. Like that isn't how like I would recommend that you do it, but it was how I knew how. And so I just did it the only way I knew how. I had great support from my parents when we needed, if we weren't able to make ends meet, like my parents were there to be supportive. But luckily, like right at the end of that, like 2 years of not making money, like someone wanted to buy my business. And so I sold the bounce house business and made a little money, right? There were like all along the way, there were these little like just tender mercies is what I think they were, and just things that kept making me feel like I can do this. Even though my business wasn't making money, my partner and I both were not making money, and he's doing odds and ends jobs. I'm doing whatever, we're just doing anything we can to try and scrape together cash because we believed that we were building something cool. And right about that 2-year mark, we got our largest purchase order we'd ever had, and we were doing trampolines for a group down in Utah County, and we were like, we just made money. Cost. I'm like, profit. There's margin on this, And so it was the beginning of like a really cool, like the next couple of years. Like we saw some growth. We hired employees. We were all in on building this, right? And that's kind of what, I don't know, you learn along the way. Like you don't know what you don't know, and being in the service-based business where like we didn't have to put forth the cash to buy the inventory because our client was. But when we were making a margin of like 12 to 20% maybe on something, like they might be going and marking that up 4x or 8x or 12x, right? Now they're risking because they're buying the inventory, right, but their margin was exponentially greater than ours was. And so that's like what started, this was 7 years ago. Like I was just, all right, like I think I'm on the wrong side of this.
That equation.
You know what I mean? And so the goal then became like, how do I get into it? And we dabbled in all sorts of cell phone cases and just
so let's because that'll be a good spot to segue into and maybe work our way back. But tell us a little bit about what you have going right now. What is that you do right now? And then also share a little bit of kind of the history that you and I have and the support that you've shown. So why don't we start there?
Yeah. So coming from the supply chain world, like I felt, okay, I've got the skill set, I can source products. 3 years ago, I got together with 2 good buddies, and we started looking at who my clients were, and the other 2 guys, like who are your clients? Michael and Dallas were their names, and we just started saying, like, what's the overlap? Like, what could we take and upsell or pitch to our current clients that already like us, but how could we get client X for you to like come over here, right? And at the end of it, it was like, oh, we need to be distributors. Like, we should sell products for people. Like, that's how we can do it. Let's get really good at Amazon. We literally knew nothing about Amazon, but we knew it was huge, right? This is 3 years ago. We knew it was big, and so we set out. We started a company, and we started telling all of our clients, hey, we offer Amazon services now. Let us build your listings. And we made some phone calls, and I just said, hey, we need someone that knows something about Amazon. Like, because we're getting clients. Like, there was one thing that we could do, and we could sell. Like, we could get our clients on board with trusting us. But then we're like, no, really though, And so, like, we went and found one kid that had previously worked at Amazon for like 2 years. He was okay, but like an agency where you're onboarding a bunch of clients can be overwhelming. And like pretty soon he's waving the white flag, like, this ain't for me. He pieced out, and so then we're scrambling. We go to a guy that sits on our board, and we're like, Derek, what do we do? Like, we need someone. He's like, hey, I had lunch yesterday with this guy that sells on Amazon, and anyways, a la my good friend Ty, and we brought him in as a partner, and he helped us run it and grow the agency, and all along with the intention of, like, I have the ability to source. Now I'm getting good at selling on Amazon. Like, I really want to source products that I'm selling on Amazon. So I had my partners running the agency. They were awesome. They were supportive of like my goals of, hey, when someone calls and they need Amazon help, like, I feed them to my agency, right? And I'm helping to grow revenues there. I'm in board meetings, like helping with the strategy, but like my goal has been sell product. Right. So that's where my sock company came. Is it was happenstance really that socks looked good on Amazon. And what I mean by that is just the opportunity, like, the volume was good, like the margins were good, like everything looked good on there. I happen to be a huge fan of Happy Socks, and I already had a bunch of my own socks, and I thought, this is crazy. Like, I'm gonna get into a business that I'm passionate about, and I happen to have the 2 skill sets necessary to start this business, and it was crazy that it just worked out. So like all along the way, like constant pursuit of like what makes me happy and what I'm passionate about, and what allows me time to be with my family and my wife and kids and have that flexibility. Like, it was kind of the perfect storm. And so that was almost 2 years ago now that the idea came for Vibe Socks, and we've been selling product for just over 18 months now. Like, we had our first sale on like December 23rd of 2015. And so we're just over 18 months old now, and still, like, even with the ability to source and the ability to sell, there's still major ups and downs, and there's shortages sometimes, and lead times are too long on our socks sometimes, or whatever. Like, we're still daily facing new things. But everything I went through, like back to those couple of years where I was like swiping credit cards and like just busting my tail doing anything I could, like, I feel I'm not scared of failure anymore, and that's just how I feel. I'm like, look, like, you're gonna take your licks, like, for sure. I'll probably lose money like multiple times before I get to a level of like wealth or rich or whatever you want to call that, right? Whatever you describe that. But for me, it's long before that. It's saying, can I do something I love, that I'm good at, or that I'm passionate about, that still allows me to have the lifestyle that I want, to be with my family and be with my kids and be active in their sports and be active with taking them places and doing things. And that to me is like part of my definition of success. Like, yes, with more money, we could take lavish vacations, right? There's things you can do with more money. You can help people more, right? But for me, like, we're super blessed and we're able to do the things that we need, all while having something that I don't hate showing up for. Right. Like, when I see all the posts on Instagram about like, oh, Monday, I'm like, I love Mondays. Yeah. Like, I don't remember the last time I didn't like a Monday. I really don't. Like, I love going to the gym Monday morning, like, and being there, and then going to work and working on my business, and Vibe's just one part of it. I mean, the whole focus for me right now, though, is products, and it's phase 1 is sourcing it and selling it on Amazon, and then eventually, like, if the product makes sense, like, take it to brick and mortar, get it into Walmart or Target or whatever store we want, or maybe it makes sense to have a huge focus just on the website, right? But like whatever that is, it starts with Amazon and helps us to get a good sense of our customer, of our demographics, of things they like and don't like. And there's enough customers on Amazon that are really fickle. And if they don't like something about your product, they'll be very open and loud about it, and you can make changes. And so for us, it's been a great way to start, and we'll continue to, as we grow, like each of these brands, hopefully will morph into like having advocates that come direct to the site and buy on a monthly basis, or buy, periodically, quarterly, depending on what the product is. But like, that's the whole goal now, is creating the ability to scale things, which I made a comment earlier about service-based businesses. Like, you're trading hours for dollars, right? It was like all I could, if I wanted to make money, I had to go get a client, I had to manage the supply chain, and once it got here, then I could get paid, right? But that was all me putting in work, or my partner, right? But same thing, like he and I there's only so many hours in a day that everyone has, and it became inherently like unscalable. And so that was when I decided, look, I want to get into products, and I know there's more risk, there's capital outlay that you have to consider, and there's, risk of losing that money or bringing in inventory that doesn't sell for whatever reason. And so there are some scary things, but I don't know. I think that you get to the point where the upside or the reward outweighs the risk. And it's just like, maybe I'm wired differently, I don't know, but like I'm not scared of losing money here or failing there or whatever it may be, because I believe that overall I can win, right? Like, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah, no, I love it. One of the things that we try to touch on in every video, and kind of the Team Flex mantra, the Bula Leka mantra is so want it like you say you do, which means take like action, right? Like what steps are you taking? And a lot of the times, myself or most of us, we're not taking that first step because we're scared of what the result's going to be. Yeah. I started reading what's it called again, The Subtle Art again, where it says a lot of times we don't want to admit that we're bad at something, but we're more comfortable in the maybe I am bad versus stepping out and actually verifying that you are bad, and so you want to just stay there and stay safe. And so with that, maybe I mean you've talked a lot about it already, but are there any specific principles that you follow yourself that help you to be wired the way you are? Of hey, dude, if I fail, I fail. That's what it is. Are there any principles that you follow that would help us understand, what can I do differently, or what are some things that I can do to help me get to that point where I can take chances to gain a little more?
Well, I'll answer that question with going back and touching on what you asked earlier, a little bit about how you and I have become friends. But I think the biggest thing that I look for is surrounding myself with people that are better at certain things than I am, or that are passionate, that people that, I mean, what's the saying, like you become like an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? And I can't remember who wrote that, but anyways, when you approached me and told me about your vision with Team Flex, like I was super on board with supporting because, well, one, I've known your family for a long time, and we're both from West Valley, and I was in a position to say, you bet, I love what you're doing. But part of it was, this is a guy that I see going places and doing things, and the more time I spend with people like that, the better off I'm going to be. And that's one thing that I started doing, and some of the books say avoid like the naysayers, right? Or avoid the people that like the negative Nancys, the people that say you can't do it. Sometimes those people are like your family and your friends, and they're your close, like, and you just, like, I was talking to a buddy just yesterday about it because he's telling me that his mom's harping on him for like, she's like, when are you going to get a real job? And I'm like, dude, I've heard that so many times. Like you get asked that all the time, friends, family. And I said, this is what you have to do. You have to compartmentalize that and say, they only know one thing. They can only look at it from the paradigm they live in. If their dad or their husband or their wife or whoever just had a 9-to-5, like nothing wrong with that. But like that's the paradigm they know, right? And so I said, you have to compartmentalize that and know that they're saying what they're saying to you because they are concerned for
their experience.
Yeah, right? Like they want what's best for you, right? So their experience is, hey, I'm nervous for you. Like I don't know how you're going to make money with your own business. Like go get a job. You're a nice kid. Like you're talented. Like go get a job, right? And I said you have to be ready for those. Like so I don't live by the mantra of like eliminate naysayers. I just try and compartmentalize that and say, look, like they only care about me. Like they're not doubting me because they don't think I'm capable of it. They're doubting because they don't understand like this paradigm I'm living in. They don't know, right? And so I look at it as less of an insult or less of a, oh, they don't believe in me, and just, man, they don't understand it, and that's fine. And so I would always tell the people close to me that were doubting, I would say, hey, you're right. Like what I'm doing probably is risky. Like it probably is a slower way to make money. And I probably could jump on the SaaS bandwagon in Utah and go sell software for someone and make really good money because the market's hot. I'm a marginally better salesperson than maybe other people. And so like, yeah, like maybe I could go make more money in that, right? But am I going to be as happy, right? And so again, instead of letting that help you like, or force you to be scared, like compartmentalize it. Just know it's because they care about you, and then use it as a strength. It's like if enough people are telling you like that you're crazy and that they think you should do something different, then like I think they care about you.
Yeah.
And that feels good to have people care about you, right? And so then the next thing that I would say is you've got to try. You've got to try something, right? Like I went and took out a student loan when I was in college to buy that bounce house business. Like probably shouldn't say it on there. I don't even know if that's legal, but I
Don't worry, you only get like 13 viewers, so I doubt any of them got
but, but like only one way that I knew how to try it, right? And then like I put in work to make it work, and I hired good people that could do things, and really like that's what's helped me along the way is surrounding myself with people that are better than me at whatever it may be. Like right now I leverage graphic designers that do a much better job on design than I ever could. And I use them, and I hopefully they feel rewarded for being a part of my company, right? But that's not something that I felt like I should continue to do to help the business grow. And I'm getting to the point now, starting now this many years into owning my own business, to recognize like my real strengths versus like hats that I'm capable of wearing. Like any entrepreneur, like at any given time might need to wear every hat. You might have to scrub the toilets, right? Like you might have to be the operations guy, you might have to be the sales guy, you might have to be the customer service guy, whatever it may be. But like really like what I boiled it down to is I'm really, really passionate about starting something, getting people on board with the vision, and then finding someone that can be like the executor. You know, I'm not necessarily an executor. Like, can I wear that hat? Sure. Like I've worn it a few times over the years, and you have to sometimes, but that's not what makes things work the best when you're just wearing a hat because you have to. And so when people are worried about it, like I told you, like when we printed business cards, I said we, and a buddy and I did it because, not because he spoke Chinese, not because he knew anything about sourcing, but because like there was strength and comfort for me in knowing someone was by my side, right? Partnerships don't always work out. And in fact, after 5 years of he and I being side by side, I spent more time with him than my wife, like we parted ways, and he went his way and kept doing sourcing things, and I did as well to a certain extent. I dabbled in software and some other things, but like it just wasn't working for the dynamics that I needed, right? But like to this day, like there's no way I would deny that he helped me get to that point, right? Like when I was leaving ZAG, like I didn't really, I mean the bounce house business was excess income at the time, right? I had salary that I was making, and then I'd make a little bit of money on the business. It wasn't making as much as I was getting paid at ZAG, but it was a little bit. But then him saying, dude, we're in this together, let's go. Like it gave us both like the strength, right? So that's one of the things that like you surround yourself with people that believe, that are willing to go to work, and you go to work together and you do it. And that's one way that I think you can get over a little bit of the fear of starting something, is find someone else that's a little bit afraid too, but together, like you do it together, and it gives, you know, what do they say? Like the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, right? Like I believe that to be a true principle, and I think that when you're scared, like that's okay. There's things I'm scared of all the time, right? But I go and say, okay, I don't know how to do my own books very well. I'm gonna get a CPA in here, a bookkeeper in here, or a tax guy or whatever, and he's gonna take that off my plate because he's good at it, right? And then I can worry about the couple little things that I'm good at, and that's how you experience real growth, right? But you have to have people that believe the same way as you do, and I liken it to what you built with Team Flex, is all these people that probably wouldn't have done it on their own, like needed someone. They needed a cheerleader, they needed a buddy, they needed someone that said, no, you're wrong, like you can change and you can do it, and here's how, and let's do it together, right? And that's why it wasn't a hard decision for me to say, yeah, I'd like to be involved. How can I help? Like, can I pay for some drug tests or whatever, right? Like, I want to support what you're doing, because I believe that that's not just how you build a business, that's how you build a community and a culture, and that's frankly how you derive a lot of joy, is helping other people, you know? And so for me, like, I like when the business grows enough that you can hire another person, right? And you're like, cool, like, we're doing things good enough now that now someone else's family is impacted by it. Someone else gets to take care of their wife and kids because they're working for me, or for their husband, or like whoever it may be, right? Like, I'm helping provide income for people that are dependent on me, right? Like, that's cool to have something like that. And that's one of the things that drives me, is I have this insatiable desire to build something big enough that, like, when people come to me and need a job, or need, like, that I don't have to, like, make phone calls and say, hey, like, who has an opening? I can say, hey, you know what, like, come on, and here's what I expect you to do, but, you know, here's what you're gonna get paid, and we're gonna help you take care of those things, right? Like, that's my vision. That's where I want to be. I want to be that big of a business that you can make those decisions, you know, and we're not there yet, but I believe we'll be there, and, you know, and we're growing. We're aggressively trying to grow right now.
Now, so just to follow up on a few of those things. So one thing you said earlier, whether it was a good idea or a bad idea, but just kind of taking everything on credit. But something you kept saying is, that's just how I knew how to do it. And that's, like, for me, that's the biggest thing, right? Because a lot of damn time we'll sit around and be like, well, I don't know how to do it, so I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit here, you know, and wait until the perfect idea comes out, or the perfect opportunity, or whatever. But the fact that, you know, maybe there was a better way to do it, but the only way you know how to do it was, you know, this route with, you know, with credit cards or whatever it was. And then taking that action to do it, like, just like, huge respect. And I've told you time, and I hope you know sincerely, like, you've shown me love and support from the beginning. I didn't, you know, with the whole Team Flex thing, I just knew that, you know, I had competed on my own for multiple years, and then I wanted to kind of spread that message across the Polynesian community, which you're close with, and so I just wanted to, hey, I'm gonna support all these guys that are buying into what I want to do, and you're a huge piece of that.
Thanks,
and so, like, I'm serious, like, I'm indebted, and the products that like I told you, the products are great. They didn't start off so great, the first pair, but they've been the last round, they were awesome.
Thanks.
And then these new ones that are coming out in the fall, like, these are super comfortable as well. And so I want to show love where I get love, you know, and I'm huge on loyalty that way. But just recapping on some of those principles and jump in. Sorry, man, if
you're good, dude.
So compartmentalizing, I like that perspective of not always saying, like, man, this asshole, like, he's trying to hate on me. It's true. Like, if they don't understand, if they don't have any concept of, you know, what that opportunity can actually result in, that's all they're going to do is judge it from what they know. And that's part of what we want to do, is change that paradigm, shift it. If it means, you know, working a 9 to 5, then great. But if the opportunity and desire is to do something different, well, understand that is a possibility. There may be risk involved, but they can do it, shift that paradigm. And then also, like I said, you know, you've also got to learn your strengths, and you've learned through experience. And something that I've learned along the way is, good or bad, I chalk everything up to learning experience. I've grown so much over the last few years because of certain failures and certain obstacles that have, you know, fallen into my path, and they've led me to do certain things that I may not have been able or ready to do otherwise. You know, and one of those things is branching out and connecting with people and trying to gain value from those around me, and also give some of that value back. So, mad love, dude. I really appreciate it. I'm getting anything else to add?
Dude, that's good.
For
me, at least, I'm grateful for this.
Well, first, let me tell you. Sorry, man. Sorry, I'm gonna keep you interrupting. But this dude, so kind of how, you know, like, hey, man, it's scary, but when you got someone else who's like, hey, F it, dude, let's go. You know, it gives you that confidence. That's exactly why he and I are here. Is because he, like, literally that conversation in a text message was like, F it, dude, let's go. You know, and so we don't necessarily know where we're gonna go, but that's where this dude falls into the equation as to where we're at right now. So.
And that's why I love this story. Even the interview we did with Harvey is like how he talked about, like, I never lived in the same place for longer than 6 years. We jumped country to country doing this, and just his perception on life kind of amazed me. And so this is similar as well. I'm part of a startup company, and it sucks in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I remember, 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, working, trying to build business, and even when we first started, not having business.
Yeah.
For like a month, 2 months straight, and I was sitting there thinking like,
The hell did I do?
like I literally, I remember I left a good job, benefits and all that stuff, and then sitting in my in-laws' garage just thinking, what the hell are we doing here? And then kind of right now I see, like, we got 4 vans that are running full time, and it's nice to see that growth.
Yeah.
That makes me feel amazed. And so being so young, I love that, and I love this connection because you've obviously gone through something similar with running your businesses, and so, and then with the whole T-Flex thing, it's like, I don't care. Like, I literally come from nothing. I don't care what happens. All I know is I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. The only other thing I was going to add, Phil, you touched on value, right? I work with the young men in my ward and have for a couple of years now, and a few of them are super entrepreneurial, right? And they want to pick my brain all the time. I love watching their like excitement for it. They're super talented, like aggressive, like go-getters, right? And I say whether that ends up being as an entrepreneur or as an employee, at the end of the day, like it's about providing value, right? And if you can be more valuable than what someone's paying you, whether you're a vendor or an employee, right? If I'm paying you $60,000 a year and you're barely only putting out $60,000 worth of value, like you're probably not going to keep that job for very long, right? And you're not going to feel satisfied in it, right? Like, but if you're being paid $60,000 and you can feel like you're bringing in or know that you're bringing in much more to the company than that, like they'll want to keep you around. You'll make more money, when opportunities arise, they'll say, no, I'd like you to stay, let me pay you more. But if I have a client right now who says, hey, we're paying you $3,000 a month right now, and you only increased our sales by $10,000 last month, and I say, okay, like, here's what we're gonna do. Like, we're gonna keep it at that $3,000, and we're gonna get you at least $15,000 next month, or like we recognize you have to go somewhere, right? Like, 10,000 is more than 3, right? But like perception is reality, and if they feel like they're overpaying for what you're delivering, like you don't keep them as a client. You don't keep a job, right? And so that's the thing is like, I just stress with them, I say, guys, just learn to create value. You'll feel better knowing you're creating value. Like, don't just punch a clock. Like, if you work for someone, like, you can turn that into something to be just what you want it to be, right? Find your strengths, find ways that within that organization you can work with your colleagues and do better than what's expected, right? Like, I don't care if you're a business owner, if you're a partner in a business, if you're an employee, if you're a janitor, like I don't care like what amount of money you're making today. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that like you can create value and you can build exactly what you want. Like, and maybe you have the sweetest schedule on the planet to clean up the gym because like that works for you, right? Awesome. You're providing a value and like you're getting that out of it, but I think that's, just coming from West Valley, coming from where we grew up, like I think that not enough kids are taught to believe in themselves. Like, not enough kids are taught that they're capable of greatness, and that is sad to me, and it's hard to, and I don't know whose fault that is. I'm not sitting here blaming schools or whatever.
No,
but
that
like,
is a reality. Yeah, that's a reality that's out there. Yeah.
You're just like, you're not reminded over and over again that you're capable of greatness, and that's just where I feel like anyone that wants to go down this path of being entrepreneurial or just a better employee, like, you just got to know that you're capable of awesome things, right? And that's just something that you've got to figure out how to convince yourself of, that you are capable of it, because I feel like that's where we sell ourselves short, is thinking, oh no, I can't do it because of this, or I don't know how, or whatever the excuse is. Like, if you believe you can be great and you figure out a way to provide value, like you'll continue to thrive in whatever job, whatever profession that it is. But like, I if there's someone out there that's sitting there thinking like, oh, I can't do this because of whatever, that's the first thing you got to do, is you got to just erase that and just know that like you're capable of greatness, and maybe you need a buddy, just like you talked about bringing Matt in, right? Like, maybe you do, like, but together, like, you'll figure it out, right? But as soon as you start letting that self-doubt creep in and win, you'll fail. You know,
Right.
and then the 2 months of not having any business, like, dude, you'd quit. You'd mail it in and say, I'm going back to a job, right? Like, when you believe in yourself, when you believe you're capable of it, like, you fight through the crap and just take your licks and you're okay with it, and you know you're going to come out better on the other end.
Cool. Love it, brother. Thanks so much for
Yeah,
joining
you bet.
us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching.